News just
Incredible.
I want your thoughts. You talked about the Blues earlier. I want your thoughts on Richmond. And the way into that, I'll give you some news about Jack Riewoldt. Surgery tonight for the veteran full forward to repair a fractured thumb. Richmond are describing the injury as short-term. Fractured thumb. Thumbs can be a bit problematic, can't they?
Yeah, not great. I reckon, I know they're saying, Richmond are saying short-term. That's a month, I reckon.
Minimum-ish?
Yeah, I don't think it's any less.
What did you make of them last night?
Now, well, you can look at them in a couple of different ways, I reckon. You can certainly make the case their best players are becoming very old, or they are old. You know, Edwards, Cochin, Riewoldt, even Dustin. I think Dustin's going to get better and better. I think he was 6 out of 10 last night. I think he'll just get better as he continues. This Riewoldt situation is interesting now because they were unable to hang on to Callum Coleman-Jones in the off-season and Mabior Chol. Now, reports were that they wanted to keep both, but they couldn't keep either of them because both wanted to seek some more opportunities because Riewoldt and Tom Lynch are in front of them.
Yep.
Well, to my eye, and again, off one game, but we've seen it across the competition, I don't think that they looked that great with Soldo and Nankervis in the side. Nankervis is the captain. So they would be absolutely loving the fact if they had the ability to call on Callum Coleman-Jones next week. But he'll be wearing a North Melbourne jumper this weekend. So that begs the question, do they have depth at key forward? Because they're going to lose a man who kicked 51 goals last year.
I was going to ask you about the two ruckmen, because they both took two in last night, both sides, and not everybody is going to do that. Not every team will take two legitimate ruckmen in.
Not many will.
No. So what's the important thing you've got to get right? If you're going to take two ruckmen in, what do you need to consider from a selection perspective?
Well, you both need to have some ability to play forward, just some ability, because when one's in the ruck, the other can't be in the ruck. So, and they can't really just be on the bench either. It's easy to say, oh, just play, rotate off the bench, but you need that rotation for the rest of your group. If you say, well, we're going to have a ruckman on the bench for 40% of the game, well, that, then your full back or your full forward doesn't get to come off the ground. So that adds some pressure in those regards. But the difference, I liked some of the forward craft from Tom De Koning last night. I think he'll blossom into a sensational ruckman. I think that Carlton's ideal scenario would be to play De Koning as the number one ruck, but perhaps physically he's not quite ready. But what he could do last night, I know there are a couple of contests where maybe in 2 years' time he'll make the most of them, but he looks okay as a forward, whereas Soldo, I think you can look at rucks or ruck forwards or forward rucks, and there is a distinction there, and look at them and say, no, he's a ruckman. He's not a forward, he's a ruckman.
So you look at the two just last night, right? And I'm not making any value judgments on the 2v2, but the Carlton pair were different. Pitney and De Koning are very different players from one another, whereas Soldo and Nankervis, they're not exactly the same, but they're both strong, powerful, plough through, feet on the ground. Neither of them are massive aerialists. They can both take marks above their head, but they're not jump on the top of a pack and take the sort of marks that Tom De Koning can. Tom De Koning can ask questions, or that type of ruckman. He asks questions of defenders that ruckmen like Nankervis, Pitney and Soldo don't ask. And I wonder whether that's what you need. I think I agree 100% with what you said before, but they need to have a point of difference. It helps if they've got a point of difference from one another, doesn't it?
Now, there's no doubt you can make it work with two rucks. Brisbane have been very keen. They ran with Stephen Martin and big Oscar McInerney for a long time. Alistair Clarkson's been a fan of two rucks. David Hale and Ben McAvoy when they were winning premierships.
But Hale was a very good key forward target,
That's right. He could play as a genuine key forward, kicked 8 goals in a game. So you don't have to be able to kick bags of goals, but you need to be able to at least keep a defender honest as a forward, because you can't just throw a big body down in the goal square and say, "Oh, that's okay. Well, he's 6'8". We'll throw him in the goal square. He'll be dangerous." The good defenders prey on those types of forwards who don't know where they should be, don't know where to run, don't know where the ball's going. The good defenders prey on those guys. So, and that's what De Koning could do. Yeah, sure, he had a few opportunities that I think, given time and given strength in the gym, he'll make the most of. But he knew where to run. He knew when to lead up. He knew when to get out of Mackay's space. So that's the difference. And that's what they'll be wondering at Richmond or at Tigerland. Without two guys, Chol and Coleman Jones are both forward rucks who can play forward. So they're both gone. So they'll have a big void to fill there. And they do have a young key forward who Jack Riewoldt himself has spoken incredibly highly of, Samson Ryan.
Yeah, we've seen a bit of him. Yeah,
he's 21.
Yeah,
he's 21, and he's got to fill the shoes of Jack Riewoldt. 206 and 104. So he's enormous.
There's an X factor about the way he plays. He will be a discussion point at some stage this year, I reckon. Just where he's at and how much responsibility does Richmond want to put in front of him? It'll be a really interesting watch. There's a leaping off point here that for something that you're going to do this year. Well, we've asked you to do it, and it's about goal kicking and it's about key forwards in the competition. Before we get there, let's just get to Dave on the road, who's jumped on the Ryco Filters open line. G'day, Dave.
Hi, Andy. I'm still recovering last night as a Richmond fan, and the 8 50-metre penalties. One of them actually was a 100-metre penalty. So we need to be a little bit more less sensitive on this issue and just let some stuff go, because the umpire involvement seems to just have such a dramatic effect on the flow of the game. And if you take those indiscretions out of Richmond's game last night, they probably win the game, don't they?
Yeah, well, Jack Graham gave away 4. The one on Shane Edwards, I thought, was unbelievably penal. He didn't really move off the spot, but he sort of danced a couple of times.
I thought Lynch came in the protected area on the outside. Okay. That was my view of that one.
Okay, well, I didn't see that, so I'll stand corrected.
So will I, if I'm wrong. But my view was that Lynch tried to meet a potential handball receiver and got within the protected area. They're always hot on the protected area early. You need to know that as a player. The coaches coach that. They say, do not go near the protected area early in the season, and then it just sort of relaxes. I love the delay of game ones. I love them. I love the one where Silvani wanted to go on with the wrestle, not really because he wanted to win the wrestle, because he knows that the longer he lays on Grimes, the longer it takes Grimes to get them. I love that one because you know what? It takes the players 1 or 2 examples of that. They don't do it.
No. Delay of game.
We won't see anymore.
Massive tick, the delay of game. The one where Dylan Grimes kicked the footy back to, I don't even know who the Carlton player was.
When
Nick
20
Newman.
metres over his head. 100%.
Whoever it was. He missed the target. That's stupid. That's crazy from Dylan Grimes, taking the punt to do that. So I think that is, if the AFL want to be hard and really umpire something into the players' minds, the delay game stuff I'm all for. I think that's going to make footy, it's going to make it better.
And it's so easy when we're a part of, or we cheer for, barrack for, or have a bias towards a team who gets beaten.
Of course.
And the umpiring decisions fit our narrative. The umpires didn't have much to do with Carlton winning the clearances 18-2 in the last quarter and scoring 27-0 from said stoppages.
The umpires
didn't have much to do with
it.
Well,
hit the post 4 times too on the way through. So Jack Graham's 4 50s, Carlton's 4 posters. They've only got to go 6 inches the other way, and there's 4 of them. Now, so that's the stuff. You can go mad if you want. If you want to say that cost us, you go absolutely mad. The game's played over 4 quarters.
Exactly right.
Most of the time, the team that deserves to win wins. Most of the time.
Exactly right. Most of the time. It's very rare that the team who plays better over the course of the game doesn't win the game.
No, most of the time. Josh is in Sunbury. Welcome to the show, mate.
Hey, boys. How are we?
Good.
Still getting over last night, Andy. I've lost my voice. Happy blue bagger.
It was a good night, Josh. Hopefully there's more to come, mate. It was a good way to start the season for them, no doubt.
That's it. My response to the last caller would be the reason why Richmond lost the game was they were 21 points in front and they couldn't hold the lead. That's the reason why they lost. I actually thought the umpiring both ways was really good. And Josh, I heard you say before about the 50-metre penalty against Silvani. I thought that was probably the best decision of the night. Just stupid football that slows the game down. I actually think we've got to give credit to the umpires. I thought the way they umpired last night allowed the game to flow, and we were the beneficiaries of some 50-metre penalties, but they also got some go their way. I just thought it was a great game all round.
Yeah, I don't
agree. It was a great game. I was able to. My three girls saying, thank the good Lord above. Didn't wake up, so I got to watch all 4 quarters uninterrupted. And it was a fantastic game to watch. It ebbed and flowed. Both teams had their opportunities. I think both teams have every right. Depends how you want to look at a game, positively or negatively. Both teams have every right to come out of that game. They'll obviously, but Richmond should come out of that game thinking that they've got plenty of upside. In personnel, but B, they showed us early that they're still a force. Don't think they're going to limp off into the night.
No doubt. So they've got the 2 areas I'd be worried if I was... the one area, but there's multiple factors that feed into the one area. If I'm a Tiger supporter, Dion Presti's ability to stay on the ground, that's a major issue. Soft tissue just continues to let him down. You're not going to have Kane Lambert for half the season at least.
Both crucial.
And when they swung the game in the third quarter, I thought Trent Cotchin was fundamental in the third quarter. He went in and he really lifted his influence on the game, particularly around stoppage where Carlton got on top. Cotchin was outstanding in the third quarter. I just don't know, and time will tell. I don't know whether Cotchin, how long he can do that for. Midfield, must be so hard to play that sort of football for 4 quarters. Cripps came in and out of the game a bit, drifted out of the game in the third term after lifting Carlton back into the game in the second and then got back into it in the final. But to be able to do that for 4 quarters when you're at the peak of your powers seems extremely... To play that physical combat midfield game seems extremely difficult. And we know that Trent Cotchin, a magnificent player that he's been and a great leader for that football club, he's in the twilight phase of his career. So that would be the area for me if I was a Tiger supporter. Until we get it all back and right where we want it, how are we going to be able to, mix it in that part of the ground with the better sides in the comp?
And the other thing I wonder about is Noah Bolter, whether they they want to throw him forward. I think that the acquisition of Robbie Tarrant is fantastic for them, but he kind of takes the players that Noah Bolter was playing on and was beating and was running off of. Mm-hmm. So now the easy thing will be for them to say this week, let's throw Bolter forward. He's our forward ruck. We probably don't need a second ruck. There we go, problem solved. But he was so deadly and so dominant as a tall, running, athletic defender. So, be interesting to see what they do with him. I think, as I said, Dusty's at a 6. He goes to a 9. I think he's still got 9, 10 out of 10. Those games left in him. Lambert and Prestia, you cannot overstate how important those 2 players are to their system. And when we see them back, or if we see them both back up and running. We'll probably see them back, but what will their win-loss record look like by the time they get them back?
It's just before you to the next caller. It's going to tell you a bit about Richmond's mindset at any given time, isn't it? At selection, at the start of the game, within matches. I think Bolter's going to be the one that says, right, they're going for it now, or that's going to be the one. What they do with Bolter throughout the season is going to be telling.
And they copped an absolute hiding in the VFL practice match at the hands of Carlton. I think it was a 53-point margin at quarter time. So
what? I didn't see that.
Based on that, I don't know what the final scores were absolutely enormous, but based on that, there may not be a whole heap to pick from in the reserves.
I think the 2 that you've spoken about, I think the 2 swingman, ruckman, key position type, Coleman, Jones and Chol, they're going to leave. They leave a huge hole. They leave a huge hole at Richmond. I think they do. That calibre of player who you've been developing for a period of time to leave when they're approaching they're maturing as a footballer, that hurts. That hurts a lot.